Some time ago, we did a teardown of the 43362 light mini motor, and since then, I've wanted to do the same for the 74127 heavy mini motor. These motors came in late 90s sets like the RIS and the Barcode multi-set, and the heavier, older variant tended to break a lot. Unfortunately, at this point, we can't actually perform an actual repair, only show the problems we have encountered while trying to do so. Just as a refresher, I want to show the internals of a light motor for comparison. We opened this exact one in the 43362 video. Here, the lid holds the commutators, and we cut the soldered metal to remove said lid. Magnetic force secures the metal plate covering the armature, and removing the former allows the latter to simply fall out. Underneath, we can see the embedded circular magnet and one of the reduction gears in the front of the motor. Now for the 74127. We have also taken this one apart before, hence the not always obvious signs of disassembly. This lid comes off the same way, but it has nothing attached to it. Instead, a plastic bracket clipped to the motor assembly holds the commutators. These again have soldered leads going to the power connector, but in a bit I can remove them without cutting anything. The bracket also holds what might be a thermistor. This time I will get the entire motor assembly out of the casing by popping the plastic tabs, fusing it in place. After scraping off some of the material, already done here, I can give a good hard press on the output shaft and punch the internals out. Everything comes in one piece. This should work for the light motors too. And now I can bend the 9-volt connector out of the way and remove the bracket with the commutators. The output shaft sits directly on the metal core and inside a plastic bearing on the casing. A stack of 2 spur gears on a captive axle joins the 2 reduction stages. The mini motors have far fewer gears than the 47154 transparent 9-volt motor. A tiny pinion drives the first reduction stage. This gear usually doesn't break, again, unlike the one in 47154. On the back, a somewhat familiar metal plate covers the armature, and upon its removal, we run into the first big issue with rebuilding these motors. The pinion connects to the drive shaft on the other side of the core, and it must come off for the armature to come out. Furthermore, said shaft has an aggressive amount of knurling, making it very difficult to remove said gear without damaging the armature, which can easily get bent or come off entirely. Underneath, we can see the root problem. The coating of the circular magnet, itself an entirely separate piece in the heavy motor, has begun to crack and peel. These imperfections jam the armature due to the extremely tight tolerances in the motor stack. As with the 5306 wires, it feels like the quality control of non-plastic parts in this era fell disappointingly short, potentially making every heavy mini motor a time bomb. Thus, we see the second big issue, replacing the circular magnet with something of appropriate size and strength. Even if we can source a replacement, we haven't tried looking for one, reinstalling the pinion gear on the heavily knurled shaft without damaging the fragile armature poses the third big issue. Removing the armature instead of the pinion seems like an alternative, but it also has knurling that damages the carrier socket on removal such that it doesn't reinstall straight. Again, even the slightest misalignment will jam the motor assembly due to the tight tolerances. Between removing the pinion, sourcing a new magnet, and reseating the pinion, we're not sure how to successfully complete the repair, and we'd love to hear from anyone who has. Ultimately, I try not to use the mini motor, both heavy or light, anymore due to its increasing rarity and potential unreliability. I currently only use it in the A6, which could also use PU equipment. It is unfortunate as the mini motor generally takes up less volume and uses less power than more contemporary PF and PU motors. On that note, this is the end of the video. Please consider subscribing if you like what we do, and have a nice day.